Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our webinar, Engineer Your Future. I'm so glad to see all of you joining us today, whether you're connecting from the office, from sites, or from your couch. Thank you for being here. My name is Shanice Easthorpe, and I'll be your facilitator for today's session. We've got an exciting lineup of speakers who are going to share real insights of practical lessons to help take you charge of your career in engineering. To kick things off, we'll be hearing from Tinashe Mukalela, a professional engineering technologist, project manager, and chief operations officer at Avenir Build. He'll be unpacking the building blocks of your engineering career, and I can promise you'll want to take notes for this one. Then we'll be joined by Dr. Gift Mphefu, who holds a PhD in engineering management. He's a professional engineer and the managing director at MedTech Engineers. Dr. Mphefu will walk us through the topic of engineer to entrepreneur, a journey many of us aspire to take someday. After both presentations, we'll open up the floor for a Q&A session. Please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A section or in the chat box as we go along, and we'll answer them at the end. Before we wrap up, we'll have closing remarks from Itumeleng Setlhavani, Vice Chairperson and Treasurer of the CISA YPF National Committee and a junior engineer at Nileti Consulting. As I've mentioned, I'm Shanice Easthorpe, a junior process engineer at Talbot. To give a quick background about Talbot, the company I'm proud to represent, Talbot is all about smart, sustainable water solutions. We design and operate water and wastewater treatment systems, helping industries recover and reuse water and work towards a future where every drop counts. With over 30 years in the game, Talbot brings together engineering, innovation, and environmental care to make a real difference in how businesses use water. Before we get started, just a quick bit of background for anyone who's new to the CISA Young Professionals Forum. The YPF is a network of passionate young professionals in the engineering and built environment sectors, all under the age of 36, who are driven to make an impact. We're qualified, ambitious, and most importantly, we're volunteers who believe in giving back to the profession that's given us so much. We focus on growth, mentorship, and leadership, creating spaces like this webinar to empower engineers to build strong, sustainable careers. Now, that brings us to a question we all need to reflect on. How do you shape your engineering path? Today's session is designed to help you do exactly that. Here's what I want you to keep in mind as we go along. Number one, empower your journey. Today is all about giving you tools and insight to shape your own success story. Number two, from learning to action. You'll walk away with practical strategies, things you can apply immediately, from personal branding to network. Number three, exploring possibilities. You'll see how engineering can open doors far beyond design and construction, even into entrepreneurship and innovation. And number four, owning your future. By the end of today, I hope you feel inspired, informed, and ready to take that next step in your professional path. So take notes, engage in the chat, and most importantly, enjoy the session. This is your space to learn, connect, and be inspired. And now let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Tinashe Mukalela. Tinashe is a duly registered professional engineering technologist with EXA and a professional construction project manager with SACP CMP. He currently serves as Chief Operating Officer at Avenir Build and Project Manager at Avenir Holdings, where he leads multidisciplinary teams in the planning, coordination, and delivery of infrastructure projects across the water, energy, transport, mining, and built environment sectors. With more than a decade of progressive experience in the consulting and construction industries, Tinashe has developed strong expertise in engineering design management, project execution, contract administration, and stakeholder engagement across both public and private sector clients. He is pursuing a master's degree in engineering management at the University of Johannesburg, complemented by his BTech and National Diploma in Civil Engineering. Tinashe is an active contributor to the engineering profession, serving on the national executive committees of the CISA Young Professionals Forum and the SAGI Project Management and Construction Division. His leadership, professional excellence, and academic achievements have been recognized through national awards, including the 2025 CISA Aon Young Engineer of the Year, the Psyche PMCD Young Constructor of the Year, and the Exceptional Academic Achievement Award for his master's studies. Tinashe, over to you, and we can't wait to hear your insights.
Thank you so much, Shanice. And thank you to CISA for creating a platform for us to share our knowledge and as well as to deal with industry issues and topics that are relevant to what we do. So today I'll be speaking on building blocks of your engineering career. And in this presentation, I'm going to take on your career as a building or a structure, which I think all engineers in this room are familiar with. So I wanted to use that analogy to take us through this topic, and hopefully we can learn one or two things as I go through this process. And additionally as well, I would want you to reflect as I speak through the different issues I'm going to talk about. Reflect on your own journey and see how you can, what you can learn or take away from this presentation. So my presentation is very brief. I'm going to speak on 5 key elements, which I have titled block number 1, which is the foundation, and block number 2, which is the structure of frame or a pillar, and then block number 3, which is the walls and the roof, and block number 5, which is then your landscape, and then closing remarks. So I'll jump right straight into our first building block, which is the foundation. And many of us, to get to where we are, we had to make a number of decisions, and typically we were too young to make certain decisions we had to make. You can imagine having to choose a career you're going to do for the rest of your life, and you are barely out of high school or even still in high school. So with the foundation, when we are talking about the building block, which is your foundation, and in structures, we say the foundation is one of the most important structures of any building, because it determines the stability of that building or structure. And in this instance, regarding your career, the foundation is your purpose and your values. And what do we mean by this? When we are talking about your purpose and values, your purpose answers the question, why am I doing this? And your values answer the questions, how do I do it? And if you look at your purpose, the purpose gives you a direction to your career. And when I'm talking about a purpose, I'm not talking about your title. I want to be an engineer. I want to earn so much. I want to work for this prestigious company. It is actually the reason why you wake up every day and the reason why you choose to do what you do every day. And most of us, we had to learn the hard way. We didn't have this support that we are currently having, in terms of having someone else mentor you or show you how to think about the decision and choices you make. We had to go through our careers painfully, learning through each and every steps we took. And that doesn't need to be the reality of your career. There's so many avenues for you to learn and learn from other people who have made certain mistakes that you don't need to redo. So in this instance, I want you to really reflect and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Is this really what you want to do? I know some certain people, these careers were chosen for them by their parents, or you looked up to someone else, you saw the lifestyle, maybe the only engineer in your town had a nice car, and you assumed, you know what, this is what I really want to do. But now that you are in it, you need to really ask yourself, is this something you really want to do? Because in this industry, we want people who are purpose-driven, people who are doing what they do solely because they really want to do what they are doing, and not driven by money, by title, or by status. So we want people who are passionate about what they are doing. So which is why it's very important and a strong foundational base for you to ask yourself this question, which is, why am I doing this? Then the second part of the foundation is the values, which, as I explained, it says, how will I do it? And your values are what we call moral rebars, or it reinforces the foundation. This helps you not to end up on all the different commissions that we are seeing currently in our on the television and in the news. It's how do you conduct yourself as you do what you say you want to do. We have values like integrity, accountability, service, and excellence. And as we say, these are just not nice words, but these are really defining moments of your career and reputation. This is what people, how people experience you as they are dealing with you. What can people say about you in your absence? So values are really very important, and most companies, when they are interviewing and reflecting in terms of candidates, potential candidates, they really look at values and see, does your values align with the company values? And so you really need to take a step back at this point and really think to yourself and understand, how will I achieve this dream that I have? What values do I need to put into place? If someone proposes for you to sign off certain things that you know as an engineer, this is not correct, in exchange of an envelope, is this something that sits well with you and you can take the envelope, or it's something that really goes against all your values and integrity? So we need to really zone into these two critical aspects, which is your purpose and your values. And at this point, I want to invite us to reflect and say, you know, why did I choose engineering? And who do I want to serve through my work? And as well as, what legacy do I want to leave when I look back on my career? You know, I was speaking to a gentleman who was part of the Gauteng, and you know, it's something wonderful, you know, when you look back to say, I was part of this, I was part of this project, massive landscapes that are now world-renowned in Africa. So you need to really ask yourself these three questions. And you know, when your purpose and values are clear, they guide you when opportunities and challenges arise. They remind you of who you are and why you started. Then I'm going to delve into the second block, which is our structural pillars. So as we are building, I'm talking about maybe a structure like a portal frame structure. We do the foundations and we do the structural pillars. And these represent the undeniable technical competencies we are required. Engineering is a very technical field, and you can't you can't be successful, or you can't do without being very knowledgeable in what you do, being very competent and technically skilled in what you do, and also committing to continuous learning, because standards are changing, codes are changing each and every year. You need to continuously upskill yourself and learn more in terms of what you do. And as I'm talking about, one which is your technical competence, which is mastery of engineering principles. You can't do away with this in terms of, as you are building your career. You can't do away with mastering your engineering principles. Please try to learn as much as you can from those that are more knowledgeable than you. Engage, have a mentor, someone who's going to show you even your line manager. It might be your line manager or people in your same space in your workplace that can teach you all the things you require to know in terms of your particular field of expertise. And the second one is your professional skills. And this is, as engineers, we sometimes slack in terms of this, which is communication. These are the softer skills. Teamwork, which is how are people willing to work with you and how do you work in a team? Leadership, which is also an important skill that you require as you grow your career, as well as your problem-solving abilities. And engineering, it's all about problem solving. So this is very key for you to build your problem-solving abilities as you grow your career. Then the third one is, continuous learning. And here we're talking about your commitment to growth through training, mentorship, and acquiring new knowledge. And one of our guest speaker here is Dr. Gift. He has reached the pinnacle of learning, which means throughout his career, he has continuously learned more and more. You attaining a degree or a diploma doesn't mean you have reached the end. You must endeavor to continuously learn more and more and more and commit to growing personally as a professional. There is no one who knows everything, including our line managers and senior managers. There's still new information coming, new technologies, new innovations that are coming through. And we need to continuously keep ourselves on the toes, learning all these issues and continuously gaining this new knowledge for our career to really grow the way we want to grow it. And in this blueprint as well, one of, as us engineers, one of our key elements is also registration and your ethics. So what registration does, it says this person is fully competent, and this is attested by this council. In our case, it will be the engineering council, and peers have looked at what this person has done in their career. They've shown competence in the different outcomes that have been outlined by the engineering council, and we find them competent. So we can't avoid registration as engineers. We need to all endeavor to register. It might not be now, but at some point, always continuously endeavor to register. Move from step to step, document your training, document what you are doing, and try to endeavor to register. And also be guided by ethics and adhering to professional standards. Then our third block, which I'm going to look at, is now the walls that we build in between the pillars. And this is what typically most people see in a structure. You see the walls, but in between there's the key things, the foundation, which is underground, and the pillars that are encompassed by the walls. And in our careers, walls will represent visibility, branding, and professional branding and your personal branding, as well as your professional network. So the walls are what people actually see. And you as a professional, in terms of the building blocks of the career, is this blueprint, the blueprint I'm talking about. The walls are what people see about you. So you need to push your personal branding in terms of as a professional. And this is what people think of you when they hear your name. What do people think of when they hear the name Tinashe Mukalela? What do they think of? Do they align it with reliability? Do they align it with innovation? Do they align it with teamwork, quality, with excellence? What do people think about when they think about your name? So you need to really push and work on your branding. And here I'm not talking about posting on LinkedIn every day or something like that. It's really making meaningful contributions to the industry, participating in organizations like CISA, participating in mentorship initiatives that are available for other students out there in the universities and high schools and stuff like that. And also mentoring people who are junior to you in your organization. This helps your branding. Even in your absence, people will still say, you know, this person impacted me in this manner, and they will continue with your branding on your behalf. Also, we talk about networking in this case, and networking is key and it's unavoidable for all of us. We need to network and build a professional network, not a network. I'm not talking about the other networks. I'm talking about a professional network in this scenario of our careers. And here we're not talking about collecting business cards and having as many connections on LinkedIn as you can, but we're talking about really building genuine professional relationships with people, peers, other disciplines in your industry. If you're a civil engineer, have relationships with mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, people outside of your normal workspace. Join events where you have access to such people, where you can meet and greet certain people that typically in your work life you wouldn't meet. So you need to build on those networks and learn from those people and grow and collaborate with those people. And as this has been mentioned over and over and over, strong networks open doors that competence alone cannot. In as much as you can be as competent as you can, alone, if people are not pushing, number one, your branding, and you are not networking with the right people, there's certain doors that will not open. And your reputation becomes an external facade that others see. So build it with honesty and consistency, and genuinely do so, not creating a facade where you act as if you are honest and consistent just for people to say so, but genuinely do so and pursue it. However, visibility and branding does not replace competence. It just amplifies it. So you still need to go to building block number 2, which is your technical skills to when it comes to competence. So we are going to go to our 4th building block, which is the roof. And here I'm talking about the softer side of engineering. The structure is up. And why we are talking about this topic, which is your building blocks for your career. They say, Abraham Lincoln says, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And maybe in this instance, we'll say the best way to predict the future of your career is to design it. And which is why we're taking this time for you to really think about where you want to go in your career and try to design it into the way you want it to be. And this part of my presentation is something I'm very passionate about, which is the softer skills to engineering and to people's careers, which is the mindset, resilience, adaptability, and importantly, emotional intelligence. We say for our structure, you cannot stop the weather, but you can build a roof strong enough to withstand any storm, any wind, any rain that might come. So even in your career, you are not going to be so technically competent and be so good with your branding and networking such that problems will not come. Problems will certainly come. Challenges will come. There will be delays in your projects. There will be design fails. There will be conflicts at work with leadership or with your peers. There will be pressures from your client. And this is a part of every engineer's journey. And what then truly defines you is how you act during those challenging moments. And your stability during those periods, and not the absence of the storms, but your strength during when you are facing these storms, and the mindset you go in with. And here I have 4 points that I wanted to speak about, which is number one, which is your resilience. And here we're saying this allows you to withstand challenges such as design fails, project delays, conflicts, and changing work environments, while staying grounded in your purpose. So challenges should not change. Now you face challenges. Now you say, I don't want to do engineering anymore. I'm leaving. Challenges should not change your purpose. In actual fact, it must, they need to shape and grow you, which is why we need to be resilient in our careers and remain composed in the face of challenges and recover from setbacks quickly. Also, the second point I want to talk about is adaptability. And this is your willingness to adjust. I've seen so many engineers, I think this is one of our weaknesses, which is adaptability. There's a standard. On site, things are different from what you have designed, but you are unwilling to adapt. So as an engineer, you really need to be very adaptable and be willing to adjust, evolve, and stay relevant in this constantly evolving industry that we are in. There's currently new technology, and some lecturers, professors are fighting AI this. But 20 years ago, Google was in a similar situation as AI today. People thought Google is going to change the world, and it did for the positive. So we need to embrace some of this change and see how we can utilize them to bring a better change. And the third point I want to speak about is emotional intelligence. And I'm really particular about this point because as leaders or most technical people, because what happens is when you're technically competent, very skilled, and you bring results, you inadvertently get into certain positions of leadership. You are promoted to be head of this technical lead. And most people lack this aspect, which is your emotional intelligence. And here I'm saying you require more than just your technical skills as you build your career. You need emotional intelligence. And this is the human side of engineering. Because advently, we are not working with just the software. We are working with people, we are working with clients, we are working with end users that are going to use these things that you're designing. And what we are saying here is the human side of engineering is your ability to listen to others, understand others, and to connect at a deeper level. And this is saying you being approachable as a leader, as an engineer, you being empathetic, you being aware of how your actions affect others in the workspace. Because we don't work as silos as engineers, we work with the multidisciplinary teams. And this also speaks to how do you resolve conflict? How do you inspire collaboration in your teams? And how do you create an environment where people genuinely want to work with you? You know, there's certain people choose not to be in that person's, that leader's team. And that can be your career. If you're in this meeting, I'm urging you to really work on your emotional intelligence. It changes everything, especially if you endeavor to become a leader one day. You really need to be, your EQ needs to be very high. Then the last point is now positive mindset. And this will take you through, especially engineering and construction. You really need a positive mindset. Those challenges will come, and they do come. So positive mindset shapes how you interpret and respond to challenges. It allows you to see potential instead of problems. Instead of seeing issues, you see solutions to those problems and remain hopeful and focused, even when the conditions are tough. Then my last building block is now what we call the landscape. The building is done, then we now have what we call the landscape. And in this instance, the landscape, we are talking about the environment we are in. So in as much as you can build your career, you, as I've mentioned, you are not in a silo. You still are in an environment. This could be your work environment. This is the industry we serve in. This could be South Africa, where we are working in. This could be Africa, where we are situated as Africans. This could be the profession, the engineering profession. This could be the world as humans. And here are four key points to look at when you are looking at the landscape. And number one is the legacy of impact. And here we're talking about the positive influence you leave on people, systems, and the profession itself and the industry. And I want you to ask yourself here, what will continue to stand because of the work I've done and the values I've upheld? And the second point I want to look at is mentorship. We are all products of mentors who have spent time, hours for free, guiding us, teaching us, building us into who we are today. And it is the duty of each and every one of us as we build our careers to work on mentorship, how we extend our impact beyond just ourselves. How many people have you impacted in your career? And don't say, I'm a junior engineer. There's other people that need your mentorship. They might be still in varsity, still in high school, trying to decide what to do in their career. And you need to serve and extend yourself to help those. This could be guiding interns, peers, and emerging engineers. And in this process, you are shaping the next generation and creating the engineers you want to see in the future. So every conversation you have, every review you do, every lesson shared contributes to a stronger profession. So how you, if a junior engineer presents a design to, how you handle it, how you handle the review, how you communicate with your team. This shapes, some toxic leaders create such a chain of distraction such that people learn the wrong things from you and they think, for me to be a successful leader, I need to act like this, and which is not correct. So how you shape or mentor people translate to the profession itself. And the third point is the landscape is also evolving. As I've mentioned, there's digital transformation, now the utilization of AI and climate imperatives and sustainability goals. So please stay curious, upskilling yourself and aligning with these trends that make the landscape. And these ensure that you remain relevant and influential. I'm sure those engineers who refused to learn AutoCAD, they thought they could still draw by hand. I'm sure now they've become obsolete because the landscape has changed totally. Everything is now being modeled on AutoCAD, and now there's BIM and all other technologies that are being utilized. Then the fourth point I want to mention is now designing for the future. We don't inherit the future, we design it. And each decision we make today contributes to the kind of industry, workplace, and world that the future engineers will build upon. So we need to, as we are building our careers, we need to be intentional about how we design the landscape that we are in. People complain about there's this and this corruption in construction. Mind you, we are talking about our fellow professionals who are being corrupt. Because if, as a profession, we all refuse to be corrupt, then the profession becomes something we all want to work in. Because if all of us were incorruptible, the profession then becomes shaped, but some of us are corruptible, which makes currently all the things we are complaining about, it's being led by some of our fellow engineers and professionals in the built environment. And with that, I've reached at the end of my blueprint. And here I'm just saying we build more than just infrastructure. We build people and legacies. And certainly we design the future. And each decision we make and each project you touch, each person you mentor becomes part of the profession, of what the profession needs. We need more competent engineers. We need more conscious engineers. And I am at the end of my presentation, and I really want to thank all of us. And I want to say we need to build boldly, we need to lead ethically, and grow continuously, and try to utilize this blueprint of building blocks for your engineering career to shape your career. And at this point, I want to thank you, and thanks to our sponsors. And over to you, Shanice. Thank you.
Thank you, Tinashe, for that fantastic session. What a strong start to our webinar. It's always really encouraging to hear from someone who's walked the path and can share such practical, honest insights about what it means to grow as an engineer. Now that we've explored the building blocks of a successful engineering career, we're going to take it one step further. What happens when you take that foundation and start building your own venture? To tell us more about that journey, we have Dr. Gift Mphefu. Dr. Gift Mphefu is the founder and managing director of a multidisciplinary engineering consulting firm, MedTech Engineers. He is a registered professional engineer with the Engineering Council of South Africa, a member of the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers, South African System Dynamics Chapter, and the International Council on Systems Engineering. Dr. Mphefu is a board member of Consulting Engineers South Africa and immediate past chairperson of the Gauteng province branch of CISA. He has also served on boards of a multinational corporation and in a state-owned entity in the Republic of South Africa. He holds a BSc in Electrical Engineering from UKZN, a certificate course in wireless telephony from Continuing Education at University of Pretoria, Masters in Engineering Management from the University of Pretoria's Graduate School of Technology Management, a postgraduate diploma in Healthcare Technology Management from UCT, and a Doctor of Philosophy in Engineering Management from the Graduate School of Engineering Management at the University of Johannesburg. He is a research fellow in the Department of Electrical Engineering, School of Engineering, College of Science, Engineering and Technology at the University of South Africa. Over to you, Dr. Mphefu.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shanice. I'm not sure if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
All right, thank you so much. So, good afternoon. I'm very, very excited to be part of the YPF today. And actually, I have many reasons why I'm excited. The first reason is that, as you can see from my slide, I'm going to be sharing insights from MedTech engineers today on the 28th of October, because it marks a very, very significant date in our life as a business. The company will be turning 16 years tomorrow. So we are very, very grateful that we have reached 16 years of existence. Very, very interesting journey, I must indicate. And I think YPF is such a fantastic group of people that I really wanted to share the story with. And I have also invited some of my colleagues in the office, in the various offices that we have, to participate in this particular webinar, and they have certainly enjoyed and really learned a lot from the presentation that was delivered by Tinashe. So thank you. So yeah, it's always difficult to talk to smart people like yourselves, but I thought that today I speak about a 2,700-year-old fable, so an old story, and how it directly applies to building a business, okay? And that can not only survive, but thrive in today's unpredictable world. The world is so unpredictable, and that talks to the adaptability that Tinashe was talking about. So we need to be adaptable and at a very, very, very fast pace. So I'll share a story of medtech engineers as a practical case study. And let's move on to the Asian story of hedgehogs and foxes. All right, is it not moving? Okay, there you go. So our entire discussion for this afternoon rests on this ancient idea, you know, of the foxes and the hedgehogs. So these are very, very true, interesting animals that I thought I should use to relate our story. So these two animals represent two powerful but opposing approaches to strategy. Now, remember, in any business, the foundation of any business is strategy. So the difference between entity A and entity B, it's purely based on their strategic intent or their strategy. So these two animals are interesting in a sense that they represent two opposing but necessary strategies. So now let's meet these animals. So you have the hedgehog, right? So the hedgehog is a visionary. It formulates a powerful vision and drives the entire organization toward it with unwavering focus. So this is incredible and effective when you can correctly predict the future. So it's all good to have this one vision, but it only works when you can actually predict the future. But we know that the world changes so fast that we cannot keep up at times. But if you are wrong with your approach of focusing on this one main thing, that focused match can really take you into deep trouble. So it can lead you right off a cliff, and you'll find yourself in a very, very big and challenging situation. Right? So remember, the hedgehog, the power of focus, it focuses just on this one whole idea. Now, let's meet the fox. So on the other hand, the fox, it's a genius animal. So in contrast, the fox expects uncertainty. So instead of one plan, the fox have many contingency plans because they anticipate that the world is going to be unpredictable as we know it today. So they constantly scan the environment for red flags. Okay, you all know red flags, and are ready to pivot. So you must constantly scan the red flags and be ready to adapt your game plan so that you are able to be relevant for that moment in time. So the goal of the fox is to be vaguely right. And they are highly adaptable rather than being precisely wrong. So it's not always possible for you to be right on point. You've got to move with the times at a very, very, very fast pace. And therefore, being vaguely right enables you, and being able to be adaptable, it enables you to play the game. So now this brings us to the next important point. And that point is, how do you play the game of business? So when you look at the game of business, the game of business is characterized by a number of things. For instance, by wins, losses, draws. That is the reality of business. So if you get into a business with the idea that you are going to be winning most of the time, please reconsider your game, because it doesn't work like that. So this thinking leads to a vital question. And that question is, are you even in the right game? So if you really want to play the game of business, you need to ask yourself this fundamental question. And that is, are you in the right game? I've used badminton here and soccer as an illustration. You know, there is this concept of the badminton question. And it basically says that, you know, a guy who plays, you know, top of the class badminton compared to a guy who plays a soccer in a full stadium, as you can see on the right-hand side there, you find that the same top player in badminton, you know, can be the top guy. However, the game itself is not able to draw the numbers. And now, those who are in the business of sports, they'll tell you that the real game is all about the numbers, the gate collections, the sponsorships, and so forth. So if you're not able to pull the crowds, it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter whether you are an expert or not. You really need to define and be able to play the right game. So the critical advice here is that you need to have a foxy mindset. Remember what we said about foxes? They know so many things. They are adaptable, so that, you know, you are able to find yourself being able to compete in your space. So the key here again is that you need to be self-aware, because visionary hedgehogs are still essential, but they must surround themselves with foxy advisors. So we need these two opposing strategies to be able to operate together. So now that we have covered the basics of hedgehogs and foxes, let's move on to the case study of medtech engineers. So our story begins in 2006. So in 2006, I found myself, I was doing my postgraduate studies at the University of Pretoria. And of course, when you are at postgraduate level, you get to work in, you know, different groups. They break you down into different groups. And at the time, I was specializing more in the telecommunications and ICT space. And this buddy of mine who was in the same group as myself, he was a very, very top biomedical engineer, but actually a mechanical engineer who became a biomedical engineer. And he needed some help in terms of solving some of the challenges that they were experiencing with medical equipment, because the medical equipment was becoming very sophisticated. It needed to be integrated into the ICT networks. And that was something that really needed someone who has an ICT or telecoms background. And that's basically how it started. So we put together a concept, and that's why you see the name MedTech Engineers, because it points to the origins, that when we started, the idea was really to utilize the engineering expertise to solve some of the challenges that we have within the medical or clinical space, or the health space in general. And that's why you see med tech engineers. And we've decided to keep it that way, even though so many things have changed. I don't know whether that is a hedgehog mentality or it was a foxy strategy, but we decided to keep it that way. So our vision was very big, and we really wanted to zoom into this, healthcare space, because we were passionate. We knew that, we could do some very, very interesting things, and we were specialists, and we were ready to march. But of course, there were red flags along the path. So what were these red flags? So, we received some very, very crucial advice, which I call a foxy advice. And the red flag was that our initial plan was too narrow as a business. And it was too risky. Not that we are scared of risk, but it was too risky because it focused in just one sector. And of course, this forced us to examine or re-examine different scenarios and fundamentally restructure our approach. So we diversified our services, building our first layer of resilience. Now, I mark the word resilience because my colleague spoke about it earlier on. So the question was, how do we win the game? Because we were playing the game, and remember, you are not the only one in the game. There are people that you find in the game. There are people who will find you in the game. So there's always this inflow and outflow of competition. And those are not the only problems, because there are other critical problems, such as some of the problems that come up as a result of your interaction with other stakeholders, including the clients. So as we grew, we faced a new and more complex game. And to understand the game, we employed a deeply foxy tool. So when I talk about the foxy tool, I'm talking about real engineering tools that are available to us. In engineering, we use modeling and simulation to understand the practical world there. We take that practical world, model it, and perform some scenario analysis, and use that as a way to help us make decisions. So we utilize that too. And this was something that I'm very, very proud of. And that proves that we can go a long way, provided we use the right tools to diagnose and solve some of the business problems that we have. So we simulated the market. So in real world, we did a simulation of the market that will help us to find a sustainable way to win. And now this analysis revealed two clear paths for growth. And this led us to the introduction of additional business units, among other things. So, as you can see, we seized these opportunities by launching a number of business units. Of course, we launched the Academy, MedTech Engineers Academy, which aims to solve the industry's skills gap. And we are very clear in terms of what the Academy needs to achieve. The Academy is not going to be another university of X, Y, Z. It's not going to be another your typical training service provider that you find out there. We know the actual problems that we go through and face as engineering firms, and we are actually addressing those skills that are required to help engineering firms to remain competitive and to really solve the problems that the community faces out there. Secondly, we established our EPCM division. So now our EPCM, Engineering Procurement, Construction and Maintenance Division, by leveraging our engineering expertise in critical renewable energy space. And of course, this was not just renewable energy space, as you will see in a moment. So now let's zoom a little bit into the Academy. So our Academy executes this vision with targeted programs. So we partner with global leaders like Cummins. I think some of you would have attended some of the programs that we host from time to time. And then we are also accredited or endorsed by the South African Photovoltaic Industry Association. Of course, we are delivering and helping our country to build the skills that are so much required in the renewable energy space. And the other interesting thing is that we are not just an authorized training center, but we are also an assessment center. We are doing this by utilizing the skills of all the various engineering professionals that we have in-house and those that we partner with to really feedback and improve the skills gap that exists in our nation. So by doing that, we are really building the skills that the industry needs, and building on that, The next topic, as you shall see now, it delves deeper into the significance of accreditations and sustainable quality management. Okay, so our strategic adaptability is backed by a solid foundation of quality. So quality is important. I think Tinashe spent a lot of time talking about why it's important for us as professional engineers or professional engineering professionals to always maintain the rubber stamp of quality through being recognized by our engineering councils and other voluntary associations. I think I do not wish to spoil the message that came through. However, our strategic adaptability is backed by a solid foundation of quality. As you can see, we are accredited by the QCTO, so meaning you can trust the training interventions that you'll come to interact with, through our MedTech Engineers Academy, and all our courses must indicate that they are CPD accredited, either through the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers as a voluntary association, as well as CISA. So, and our membership with Subvia ensures that we lead in the renewable energy standards, and this is how we build trust. And then in the next slide, you'll see that we zoom into a case study that highlights some of our key achievements in the renewable energy space. As you can see here, this represents one of the projects that was delivered recently by my team. The project was a 500 kilowatt peak solar PV with battery energy storage that was delivered towards the end of last year. It's now in the operation and maintenance phase. And of course, our foxy move into renewables paid off. So we did not remain stuck in one area. We decided to understand the game and see where the opportunities were going, where the infrastructure needs existed. And through this project, we were able to prove that we can really solve a number of public health facility challenges, not just with medical equipment, but through provision of alternative energy solutions. I must also indicate that this project was ranked top in Gauteng and is nominated for a national award. I expect to see the results towards the end of November this year. So this is really a foxy strategy in action, if you ask me. The other project that we had to find ourselves involved in, as you can see here, there is a need, especially within the energy landscape. There is a massive gap in terms of the capacity that the economy require, from the transmission line perspective. So we took advantage of these opportunities and adapted our teams and made sure that the teams are qualified, they have all the necessary resources, and we also partnered with like-minded firms that are really holding us by the hand, because we don't know everything. At some point, you'll need help from a partner or from a buddy. So we got into those type of arrangements, and I'm very proud to say that the team is doing some great work building this 132 kV line somewhere in the Western Cape. Now, the nice thing about it is that it's going to carry clean energy from wind turbine as well as a solar PV plant with battery energy storage. So we are very, very happy about these developments. This project is more in the telecom space. You can see the picture was taken up right there next to the border of Zimbabwe. This is in Musina. My project manager is busy there, managing the deployment of optic fiber infrastructure in that area. Of course, to ensure that we connect our communities to this digital information infrastructure. So This is from Musina, as you can see, at the gateway of our continent. Our project manager there recently reported a steady progress on a national optic fiber project. So this is not just a project that is located in one area, it is a national project. And this is not just a cable, but it's a digital backbone for the future economy. So this brings me to the conclusion. But let me say that we have evolved for 16 years, as I've mentioned. And this is our evolved ecosystem, as you would have noticed. So we have our core engineering practice, an accredited academy, and award-nominated renewable energy division, and of course, the transmission and distribution power lines section. And of course, we still do a lot of work in as an electrical contractor, where we focus on buildings and general infrastructure. So this dynamic structure built on quality and a focused strategy is how we, in our own context, that's how we're able to ensure this long-term resilience and of course impact. This month alone, we had to do something different, and very, very proud to report that we have created 14 new job opportunities only this month alone, purely because of our involvement in so many areas of the infrastructure of our economy. So what are the key takeaways from this case study? So I think the main thing is that we need to remember is that don't just be one or the other. Foster the tension between the visionary focus of the hedgehog and the adaptive intelligence of the fox. Okay, so take advantage of the hedgehog and the foxy mentality. You are going to find that in your office, whether you like it or not. So unfortunately, we don't only experience a pushback from the external environment, we also experience a lot of pushback from within our own boardroom, but that pushback must be channeled in the positive direction. So you need to constantly reassess your game and build a team that challenges your thinking. So this is the path of a truly resilient strategy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very, very mindful of time. Let me thank you for your time and participation, and it's been a privilege to present on this topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mphefu. That was really powerful. I think everyone here can take something away from that, especially the reminder that engineers don't just solve problems and that we create possibilities. So thank you very much. With that, we'll now open the floor for our Q&A session. Thank you to everyone who's already sent in their questions, and we will dive into the first one. So this is directed to you, Dr. Gift. You mentioned as academy that trains consultants. Do you think South Africa's current engineering curriculum adequately prepares graduates for the pace of digital and interdisciplinary innovation we're seeing in consulting?
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. I think the question is relevant for South Africa, but it's also relevant for the globe, because the rate at which technology is changing is not only affecting South Africa, it's affecting the whole world. So there's always this delta between the formal university curriculum as well as the technology. So we need to adapt. All that we can do is to adapt, and that's why you have ourselves as MedTech Engineers Academy to be able to quickly close those gaps, because we know your traditional universities, they quite take time to adjust to some of these developments. But the reality is that the economy does not have the luxury of waiting for us. So that's a very, very great opportunity for those who want to play in the space and make sure that they continuously develop themselves, they are competent, and they partner with other like-minded people who are much more knowledgeable than them to help them to be able to close those skills challenges.
Thank you, Dr. Gift, for your answer. For Tinashe, we have a question. As the winner of the CISA Aon Awards Young Engineer of the Year, what kind of impact do you hope to leave on South Africa's engineering landscape beyond the projects themselves?
Thank you so much, Shanice, and to the person who posed the question. So for me, like I mentioned, I'm very particular about driving change in our profession when it comes to the softer aspects of the profession, which is dealing with leadership. You know, there's a number of young, brilliant professionals who are struggling in their workplaces due to, you know, being led by toxic, I would say toxic leaders and managers in the workplace. And as a young professional and as the Young Engineer of the Year, I would want to really look at how we can positively impact and bring awareness to the young professionals of avenues they can utilize and to bring change in their organization, as well as surviving some of these abusive and toxic work environments that are prevalent in our industry. And also with the older crop of engineers and leaders, try to be a bridge between these two, the older generation and the newer generation, and try to make them understand the perspective of the young engineers and the issues they are dealing with. And I know some of the older generation, they think we are so weak, and but there's a need for change. Mental health is a reality. It's not something that's a myth. It's a reality, and there needs to be change, and it needs to come from driven by both parties, which is the older generation and the newer generation. So that is one of the key things I want to really strive to fix, as well as also hopefully encourage professionalization of the engineering space. As a leader as well in where I am, we really struggle with employing talented young professionals. There's a huge skills gap where there's graduates, young engineers, then there's a very marginal skills gap, then there's the well-experienced guys. So it's also trying to see how we can close the gap between those well-experienced professionals and the young professionals that are currently still entering into the market, and how the young engineers can professionalize and really strive to do their best and market themselves better. Because really the market, we are looking for people and we can't find the right people for certain jobs and tasks that we need done. So thank you so much, Shanice.
Thank you so much, Tinashe. The next question for Dr. Gift is, why did you study engineering?
Well, actually, I grew up in the northern side of Pretoria. So I did not go to a private school, I must indicate. So I spent a lot of my Saturdays attending extra classes at Medunsa. It was called Medunsa. It's now called Sefako Makhato University. It's a medical school. So growing up, I thought I was going to follow the medicine space. But I guess after spending 3 years of my grade, is it grade 10? Yeah, grade 10, 11, and 12. For my extra classes, I was actually tired of anything that has to do with blood. And that's when I decided to study engineering, to really apply, because I was very, very passionate about science and the application thereof. But I must indicate that I found myself, going back after, enrolling for a postgraduate diploma in health technology management with UCT some years ago. So everything basically came back to a nice, round circle. So, but I quite enjoy engineering because I'm able to solve all sorts of problems. And because I've worked in the telecoms, I've worked in the power, I've worked in a number of sectors. And as an engineering management practitioner, what I enjoy more is really utilizing all the experiences in real life and really making an impact that our economy needs.
Thank you, Dr. Gift. The next question is directed to you, and it says, which strategies should we employ, hedgehogs or foxes, to improve accountability and good governance, maybe stop the discounting of fees and incomplete public infrastructure?
Yeah, so I like the question. So first of all, you need both strategies, right? You will thrive as a result of that commotion between a foxy strategy and a hedgehog. So you just need to balance them. Not one should outweigh the other. You need the views. And of course, they say if you are in business, at some point you must be able to tell the client that no, but no thanks. It has happened to us many times where we have negotiated with the client, or we have offered, a proposal to the client, and when they came back, they wanted to bring us down to levels that are unsustainable. I think that is the issue for us, because we are not in it for a quick buck. We are in it for sustainability and for the right engineering principles. And these are some of the big clients, public sector clients, that are supposed to be the custodians of the public procurement. And we have nicely told them that, sorry, we cannot carry on with the counter proposal. So there are limits to anything. And I'm not saying businesses should not have the flexibility to offer discounts, but do not be reckless, because in most cases, you'll find that the projects that we find ourselves in, they will extend over a long period of time. And now if the discounts are not going to help you to last, for as long as the client wants to run that project, you are actually going to find yourself in trouble. So make it your own competitive strategy. Work out what level of discounts would work for your business, because businesses are different. We use different resources. We have established different ways of doing things. So my costs will be different from Tinashe's costs, as an example. So work out what would work for you. I think that would be my best advice.
Thank you, Dr. Gift. The next question is for both speakers. Tinashe, I'll start with you. And the question is, how do you identify opportunities for innovation in projects that seem routine or heavily regulated? For example, hospital compliance, water treatment, public works.
All right, thank you so much. I had an interesting chat with a gentleman called, he's from Zutari. He deals with innovation and digitalization. So he gave me an interesting view of this, and he was saying we sometimes think when we talk of innovation and stuff, you want to go from 0 to 1,000. So I would say baby steps. You take baby steps. Processes you can automate. They can be automated. Checks that are done manually, start by doing them as in physically on paper. You can start on an Excel spreadsheet. So it's not always we want to implement a new state-of-the-art technology and software, especially in a personal space, in terms of, I don't know the question where it's coming from, but if it's in your own personal capacity, look at what you are doing currently and how would you want to do it better? How would you want to implement a better system or a process in what you are doing? So instead of thinking of something wow and beautiful that's going to utilize AI and insights from AI and stuff like that, start small and implement that, and then grow and build on that. That's what I can say, and I'll leave it to Dr. Gift.
Yeah, thanks, Tinashe. So the question of innovation, I think it's a very, very important question. And I think I'll use my experience from product development, because I did a lot of product development / innovation back in the days. So for us to be innovative, remember, first of all, you need to be guided not by your excitement. Of course, the excitement is also important, but the excitement must address a market problem, a real problem out there, because you don't want to be spending too much money on effort, and knowing very well that you are only addressing a small market out there. So you need to be very, very careful and make sure that you understand what are actual needs in the market. And then once you understand that, obviously we assume that you also understand the current methodologies that are being used to solve the problem. Because remember, innovation does not necessarily mean that you are coming up with something that is new. Innovation could mean that those small improvements that Tinashe was talking about, and is to identify those deltas that can really actually make a huge difference in people's lives. And of course, take them through the necessary those technical development processes and proper business processes. There is a formal process that one needs to follow if you want to come up with an innovative product. So you need to surround yourself with those people who are in that space, who will be able to take you through that whole process. But of course, make sure that you are addressing a real market need, and you can also quantify the need, so that if you need investments, you are able to sell your ideas, to funders. They will be able to see how they are actually going to make money out of their own investment. So it's quite a very, very heavily loaded question, but very, very important for all of us to contextualize and start thinking and respecting the whole process of innovation. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Gift. The next question is directed to you, and it says, what are the personal lessons learned transitioning from engineering design to executive leadership that you wish young engineers understood earlier?
So I think we need to be patient with ourselves. We need to be patient with ourselves, and we need to understand that business is science. So you need to make sure that where you find yourselves now, obviously as young engineers, try to learn as much as possible, because the business world requires one to understand so many things, as I've indicated, with a fox, an animal that knows a lot of things. So you need to know a lot of things. And every time I still learn new things. For instance, recently I just found out that, in your bid management team, it's very important to have people who are very smart. So by being smart, I mean people who pay attention to detail, because if they don't pay attention to detail, they will not complete the tender document the way it's supposed to be completed. They'll just leave some of the blank spaces. And what happens when it gets to be adjudicated? You're going to be disqualified. So you really need people who have high standards, okay? And you will not always have those people. So you need to have a system in-house that will help you to take people through the journey and help them to improve all the way. Because the consequences of not helping your people, because they represent the system, the business as a system, if they don't improve, you may find yourself out of business. You will not even last for 3 years. So, so it's very important to continuously look at that value chain and make sure that you have adequately resourced people who know exactly what they're doing.
Thank you, Dr. Gift. That's some great advice. I think we can all take a page out of your book. A question is directed to Tinashe, and it says, you mentioned the importance of mentoring in your presentation. How would one get about reaching to you and Dr. Gift for mentoring as a young engineering professional?
All right, thank you. I think for me, I'm open to it. My contacts can be shared with whoever is requesting the information. I'm open to it, even though I have a lot of people I mentor, but I'm open to having discussions with people and maybe then guiding them to someone more suited to mentor them than myself. So I can have that discussion with whoever is interested.
Yeah, I think I share the same sentiments. I'm more than happy to interact with whoever wants to get some guideline or guidance. I mean, I do that all the time, so I'm very happy to do it.
Sure, thank you. We
Thanks.
will circulate
Through
your
you.
emails
Yeah,
to
through
the
so you can share
participants.
the information. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. The next question, I'm not too sure who it is directed to. Perhaps either one of you could answer, but it says, what advice would you give to a young professional who is interested in developing diverse engineering skills? For instance, someone who is passionate about structural engineering, but also wants to branch into mechanical engineering, particularly within the research space of computational mechanics. At the same time, I'm deeply interested in programming and emerging areas like computational design, which is becoming increasingly relevant in consulting. Is it possible to pursue these interests without losing focus or spreading myself too thin?
Yeah, so it is true that we need to equip ourselves with different competencies, different skills. But that does not mean that you, as a structural engineer, you must also take time to go and study mechanical engineering from first year right through to the final year. It doesn't mean that. I think all that you need to do is to work out exactly what is it that you need to, to be competent in a specific field, and do a program that will help you to achieve your goal. So it is possible to do that. However, the other important thing is that you can't be an expert in everything. You cannot be an expert in everything. You need to be able to develop the skill of interacting with other professionals as well. It's good enough to know to a certain level, but remember, you're also limited in terms of the responsibility that you can take as an engineer in a project, for instance. So if I'm an electrical engineer, so I cannot sign off on a mechanical engineering project. It doesn't matter how excited or how knowledgeable I think I am in that particular area. So learn to trust and collaborate with other peers who are specialists in their own different spaces. But of course, that doesn't mean that I cannot go and learn a little bit about, computational, systems, as was suggested. You can still do that, but no, just make sure that you define your boundaries very, very clearly.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Gift. Tinashe, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I'm covered.
Okay. The next one is not a question, but I think it's just a shout out to Dr. Gift. He is such a great leader and has been incredibly helpful, especially in creating opportunities that help reduce unemployment. I'm grateful to have been one of the students in the Renewable Energy Green Card program under his guidance. Thank you, Dr. Gift.
Thank you.
Moving on to our last question, which is directed at Tinashe. It says that you alluded to always reminding oneself of how their name impacts those who hear it. In terms of graduate engineers still finding their feet in industry, we are not yet fully competent and skilled. what would your advice be to us who would like to still be viewed in good light despite making some mistakes along the way?
All right, thank you. I think at every stage in one's career, there's definitely things you can do. For instance, a young graduate, we have the YPF, which is your Young Professionals Forum. Participating in the forum and even in events like these ones and other events CISA YPF does, and even other voluntary associations do, like your SAICI, you can still grow your branding and your network whilst you're still building your technical competence and skills. So the two are not linked, because one is what you can do, which is voluntary work you can do in your own time. And it can be mentoring back when we do your speed mentoring with the students at UJ VITS. We do a number of events at VITS, UJ, TUT, at VAL as well. So it's you participating. And actually we need such graduates in some of these events, because they have I graduated, I think 11 years ago. I've lost touch on certain aspects about young professionals and young graduates. And that person who sent that message, they can cover for me in that aspect, because they are still fresh from the experience and they know how to mentor someone who's still struggling with their final year at UJ. So you can still do a lot of work at every stage of life you are. And over time, you are exposed to a number of people and your name will be known to say, okay, we know this gentleman, we've seen him, he has done this work at UJ, he was doing this at VITS, he participated in our Imbizo, he was doing this and this and that. And the only problem is all of this work we do is voluntary. It's not paid. So you really need to take time outside of what you do and put in the work and effort to do so. And hopefully one day you'll be recognized for your efforts and you impact the next person. So I hope I've covered that question. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our speakers, and thank you to everyone who's asked questions. This concludes our Q&A session. It's really been amazing, full of practical advice, real stories, and valuable lessons. A big thank you to everyone who joined and participated, and I can't forget a big thank you to our sponsors. We will circulate the speakers' emails after this webinar. I'll now hand over to Itumeleng, who will wrap up today's session for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanice. So in closing, as we bring today's insightful session to a closing, one message rings clearly throughout Tinashe's session, which is building a meaningful engineering career. It's not just a single act, but a structure we build deliberately, block by block. We began by exploring 5 building blocks that shape every engineer's journey, which is the foundation, where purpose and values define why we do what we do and how we choose to serve. Number 2 is the structural pillars, reminding us that mentorship, technical competence, and continuous learning, along with ethical practices, are the strength that keeps our careers upright. Then with the thirdly, we have the walls, which represent how we show up, our personal brand, our networks, and the courage to take initiative and create opportunities that amplifies our skills. Then fourthly, we have the roof, which is built from resilience and adaptability, along with emotional intelligence. These qualities are the qualities that are there to protect us throughout the storms of uncertainty. And lastly, the landscape. This is where we extend our impact beyond ourselves, mentoring others, designing for the future, and leaving a lasting legacy that outlives our projects and our lives. And with the last speaker, we have Dr. Mphefu. Dr. Mphefu's story about medtech engineers beautifully embodies these principles that were mentioned by the previous speaker, Tinashe. From starting as a postgraduate student with a vision in 2006 to leading a multidisciplinary and globally recognized firm, his path shows that engineering and entrepreneurship are not separate words but complementary ones. Through the hedgehog and fox analogy, we are reminded that strategy is not just about speed or cleverness. It is about clarity, teamwork, and self-awareness. Whether you are the fox exploring many ideas or the hedgehog mastering one deep vision, success comes when we both align with our purpose and with the right team. In the game of business and engineering alike, there will be wins, losses, and draws. But as Mr. Mphefu emphasized, the true victory lies in learning, adapting, and equipping yourself with the right tools to diagnose problems and implement innovative solutions that matter. So that is the end of our session today. Thank you to all the speakers that presented, and to all the attendees that made the provision to make time to attend this webinar. A special thank you to you. And lastly, a special thank you to our sponsors that are shown there on the screen. It is much appreciated as they make these events possible. And we're ending off our session. Enjoy the rest of your day and bye-bye.